This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're taking your calls and questions about what if I can't afford a lawyer. Many people assume that if they've got legal problems but they just can't afford to hire a lawyer. Well, it depends on what kind of case you have, how to get help. Calling your questions tonight, the 31 Law Call number 256-536-0077. You can also email your questions. You send any legal question any day of the week. You send it to lawcall@waaytv.com, and when we get to a show that's on point, we pull out some of your email questions, and we will have some of your email questions tonight talking about what to do if you can't afford a lawyer. Joining us, Michael Timberlake's here from Timberlake & Lee. Good to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Before we get into our topic and before you introduce our guest, we've got tonight's You Make the Law Call video. Check out this clip thanks to YouTube. It's a beautiful day, a wonderful day for a bike race. Beautiful countryside, but this super sharp curve, and watch what happens.
One bicycle goes.
It doesn't go well, though. What?
Why are the cars there?
Yeah, why are the cars there? Why are the cars there? It's such a beautiful setting. I'm not sure where this is, but it is a tight turn there. Now, is it the bicyclist's fault? What happens now? Is it possibly the responsibility of the folks who are running this kind of a race? What if his brakes went out? Is there somebody else to check on the...
And now here you got
There's more.
Yeah.
Brake manufacturer, especially with the first one. When something like this happens, personal injury attorneys, thank goodness there's video. The best evidence possible for something like that. Those of us who watch the news come up with one answer, and then guys who do personal injury cases come up with different reactions sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you're more than likely what you're dealing here with is a closed course. So it's not,
Okay.
These vehicles are going to be something that you know are going to be there, and the bicyclists, the racers are going to know are present. More than likely they assume the risk of this type of thing going on because it is a tight environment when they're going through a bike race. But like you said, the people that put on this event, they have to understand, they have to take the appropriate protocols so that if something does happen like this, which is foreseeable, the one bicyclist apparently couldn't turn, and then hit the chase car. But once that happens, there should be a way for them to warn the other bicyclists coming down the mountain in a prompt manner. And so I think you could be some criticism of the people that organized the race, but in general, the bicyclists in this situation that choose to engage in this activity assume the risk of this type of thing happening.
Okay. You guys do personal injury cases all the time.
Right.
You brought with you a great expert to help answer questions today.
Right. We brought William here from our firm to talk to us about a lot of things here. We're going to talk about when what happens when you can't afford a lawyer. How do we work as a personal injury firm in terms of how do we charge our clients, and then in other civil cases, what can people do if they can't afford an attorney?
Yeah, absolutely. So different types of lawyers charge in different ways, right? And so in civil cases, personal injury lawyers are going to charge a contingency fee. And what that means is that we're only going to get paid if and when we collect for you. And it does a few things. First of all, you're not going to get a lawyer that's going to say, hey, give me $1,500, let me see what I can do. We're only going to be able to get paid if we can make a recovery for you. And the other thing it does is it incentivizes your lawyer to collect every nickel and dime they can for you because they're going to get pennies every nickel and dime. But that's for personal injury. There's lots of other types of civil cases, everything from landlord-tenant to divorce or custody cases, bankruptcy. There's all sorts of different types of civil cases. And if you can't afford a lawyer, and it's not an area of law where a lawyer charges a contingency fee, here in Madison County we have what is called the Madison County Volunteer Lawyers Program. And what they do is if you are under a certain income threshold, lawyers volunteer their time pro bono, and pro bono just means without charge, and we assist those people who can't afford to get a lawyer on their own with whatever type of legal case that they have.
This is kind of the perfect, public-private, joint effort to try to help people that can't afford a lawyer. These are private practice lawyers that will just donate their time on individual cases to help people manage the situation. But the volunteer lawyer program actually has it kind of takes the intake, takes the organization, the management away. They'll take the calls. They'll make sure the people that qualify, because it's a need-based service, and then they'll assign the appropriate lawyer for those types of cases. And there are a lot of lawyers out there that will want to help somebody, and this is a great way for them to go about it and do it. But they don't have to vet the person to make sure that they qualify, or to look at, they get facts about the case before they decide to take it. So it really saves them a lot of time and allows them to be more efficient and help more people.
So we've got callers waiting. We've got Howie on the line with a question from Huntsville. Hi, Howie. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Yeah, I can't afford a lawyer. I was sued by a condo association in district court, and it turned out when I went to find my lawyer of 40 years, it turned out he had just been disbarred. I called up the Alabama Bar Association, and they referred me to a list of real estate attorneys, but most of them are only doing house closings, and they said they're making money hand over fist doing that, and they aren't going to spend the time to go to court. And the few lawyers I found that were willing to do that said, but it's a district court case, and the amount of the attorney's fees would be pretty much what I'm being sued for. So I can't afford to pay a lawyer as much as I'm being sued for. How do I go about defending myself?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It's in district court. The rules of evidence are a little bit more relaxed. It's not like being in trying a jury case. But it is difficult because the lawyers are going to look at a situation. They're going to say, if they can't be effective for you, or they're going to potentially cost you as much as you may have to pay to defend the case, it's not going to make sense for them. You may be able to go through a process, and William, they have mediators through district court that you may be able to work it out yourself.
Absolutely, and if you fall under that threshold. It's something you could, approach the volunteer lawyers about as well. But, with regards to when you go to district court, they're going to have court-appointed mediators. And what they do is they're going to give you the opportunity to try to reach an agreement between you and the other party prior to your actual case going in front of the judge. And that still gives you some control to negotiate or some control to maybe meet in the middle somewhere. But if you're not successful with that, then you're going to have to go try your case in front of the judge, and he's going to decide, which way it's going to go.
When you're talking about mediators,
sure.
Explain what a mediation is.
Right. A mediator is what alternative dispute resolution came into favor about 20-something years ago, 25 years ago, and basically it is a way or a method so that the parties can efficiently try to resolve their claims without, trying their claims to a jury or a judge, and trying to work through the difficulties of their differences without going through court system and getting a judgment. So it's a voluntary process on both sides. Both sides have to agree to do it. Sometimes the court will encourage or order you to do that, and that's a good thing. But it is not binding. So it's not arbitration and mediation are confused. Arbitration is binding. Mediation is not. It's voluntary. Now, if you go and you work through the process and you resolve your claim, hey, that's great. But it is not anything that anybody can make you resolve your claim at mediation. And what we use is an independent third party. It can be a retired judge. It can be a lawyer that has experience in the area where the case is filed. And they just try to listen to both sides and talk to both sides about their positions, the pros, the cons, the strengths, the weaknesses, and encourage everybody to kind of, look at the other side, look at the uncertainty that could happen if your case is tried, and then try to come up with some reasonable resolution of the case.
Let's talk a little bit about how expensive it can be to try cases. Now, he's talking about district court, so there are limits on what you're going after. But when you're talking about circuit court cases, maybe for big auto accidents or the kinds of cases that you guys do, it can be expensive to put on that case, right? What fees are we talking about that the average person probably could not afford to hire?
Well, that's William mentioned contingency fee cases. So we take our cases on a contingency fee, but we also advance the fees in the case. And William, what are those fees?
So the expenses can be anything from the cost of medical records to filing fees. You know, it's not free to file a lawsuit. There's a filing fee, and in circuit court that's going to be somewhere in the $700 to $800 range, depending on your county. It varies. You know, and then there are costs for exhibits. There's costs for depositions where we go and take someone's sworn testimony. There has to be a court reporter there. If there's physicians involved who are giving testimony, we have to pay them for their time. You know, so there can be a lot of expenses. On the defense side, a lot of times the person's insurance company, whether it be their homeowner's insurance or their car insurance company, is going to pay for the defense lawyer. And so a lot of times the person, like similar to the person who just called in who's getting sued, you know, in those situations, if we're talking about a car wreck and you had insurance, your insurance company is going to pay for a lawyer to defend you. If it's a claim involving homeowner's insurance, your homeowner's insurance is going to pay for your lawyer to be there to defend you if you're the one being sued. But as far as the plaintiff or the person who's bringing the action in the courtroom, then they're going to not have that from an insurance company, right? So that's part of what attorneys who handle contingency fee cases can do, is they can advance those costs, and if we're successful, we get them back.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what about criminal cases? What about family law cases, divorce? What about child custody? What about if DHR is involved with your family? Call in your questions. What if you can't afford a lawyer? The 31 Law Call number 256-536-0077. We'll be right back.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call, where lawyers come to help. Your rights, your calls, live. Hosted by family law attorney Sharon Dovian. With the personal injury attorneys of one of the Valley's most respected law firms, Timberlake and League. Featuring the knowledge of managing partner Michael Timberlake, with millions of dollars awarded to his clients. And the experience of attorney Will League, a strong courtroom fighter known for his commitment to winning. And the fellow partners of Timberlake and League Heath Brooks and William Meservey. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back. I'm Sharon Dovian. Tonight we're talking about what to do if you can't afford a lawyer. We've got with us Michael Timberlake and William Meservey, both of Timberlake and League. They do personal injury cases, so that's everything from auto accidents to medical malpractice, or getting hurt from a product that you bought. We're talking about what to do if you can't afford a lawyer. Okay, so in every criminal TV show out there, somebody gets read their rights. You've got the right to a lawyer.
Right.
Okay, but what if you can't afford the lawyer in a criminal case?
Well, and you know, basically there's a process you go through. You have a constitutional right to be represented if you're charged with a crime. And if you are charged with a crime, you go through a process. You fill out an affidavit that says you don't have assets in order to hire an attorney, and then the state will essentially appoint you an attorney. There's in different types of, you know, how that's handled is different depending upon the court. In municipal court, there's kind of a public defender's office where they'll you know, appoint you a lawyer that's there all the time that will take care of that. It's different if you're charged with a felony crime or something major in circuit court, and they will appoint a private practice lawyer to represent you in that case, and they, I think, may make a whopping $40 for out-of-court time and $60 an hour for in-court time. But you do have a right to be represented if you're charged with a crime. And
some very talented people doing those kind of cases as well. So
absolutely.
Fill out the paperwork.
Absolutely. You know, people say that, you know, people think, oh, I'm going to get an appointed lawyer. Well, you know, those are appointed lawyers that have handled a whole lot of those types of cases, and so they're not bad lawyers.
Yeah. We've got callers with questions. Shelley's on the line with a question from Scottsboro. Hi, Shelley. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Hi, thank you.
Sure.
I had surgery, and I had a prior authorization from my health insurance for my surgery.
Okay.
Now they're denying paying any of my medical bills.
Okay.
They have me listed as secondary but they are my primary insurance. They're saying that my secondary, I mean, they've got me listed as secondary, and they're saying that my old insurance, which was terminated in 2019, is my primary. So I don't know. I can't afford a lawyer, and I've got all these bills piling up, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a difficult situation. I think there's two things you can do. One is work with the medical provider that's filed the claim against your insurance company, because obviously they want to get paid, and they probably realize that you're not going to be able to pay them for the services unless the insurance pays it. So try to work with them as closely as possible. And the second thing you can do is just try to get as much information you can about the policy that was terminated before, and provide that to your existing carrier. Unfortunately, it's hard to sue health insurance company, right, William?
You can be David taking on Goliath in that scenario. It is a contractual claim, but that sounds to me like, I think it does to Michael, more of an error on the part of the insurance company, and that could potentially easily be resolved by getting a printout from your prior carrier and showing them the termination date and that there was no primary in front of them. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to be taking on, one of the few health insurance companies that we have in the state of Alabama, then you're going to be taking on all of their resources and everything that they have. So, on something like that, which is, quite obviously going to, the cost of a surgery is going to be a big number to any individual. But when we're talking about, a mega corporation, it could be drops in the bucket to them. But they're going to fight those claims. They they routinely do, and they're going to make you prove your claim. And so the first thing and the best thing to do is, just like Michael said, gather all the information that you can, provide it to them, work with the doctor's office, and see if you can't get it resolved that way, so that you can avoid, costly legal battle.
It's not like the insurance company is looking back in time and saying, we think you got sick back in 2019 and they ought to pay it, right? It's not like car insurance
No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound like that. It just sounds like, for whatever reason, the new insurance company was understanding that they were behind another insurance company at the time that she became an insured. So it's more than likely a technical issue. And unfortunately, there's a law, if it's an employer-provided benefit, which I'm kind of assuming it is. There are a whole lot of laws that protect insurance companies for group benefit plans, and it's a federal law and it's federal protection. And there's really not a lot of ways for individuals or consumers to prevail in those types of cases. So really it's a matter of administrative and making sure you get all the ducks in a row from your prior carrier and from this carrier, and show them, look, I didn't have any other insurance, you're mistaken.
We've got Sharon on the line with a question from Huntsville. Hi, Sharon. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
I don't want to go into great detail.
Okay.
But a disabled person cannot afford an attorney.
Okay.
And it somewhat involves disability law, USA law. I believe it is probably a civil case because it involves a business, management, and disabled person.
Are they discriminating against?
Feeling intimidated, harassed, and it actually impacts my business.
Do you feel like they're discriminating against you, Sharon? Is that what's going on? And don't tell us who it is, of course.
Right. Yeah, sure do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's some protections, special protections under the Americans with Disabilities Act that provide that businesses, or if they're going to have employees, or even just businesses that are open to the general public, must provide reasonable accommodation to people that have disabilities. You can't discriminate against people that have disabilities, and depending upon the number of employees that business has would determine whether the ADA would apply to them. So it's one of those things you can look at. If you can't afford an attorney in a case like this, you might be able to talk with the volunteer lawyer program to see if they know somebody that would be willing to look at the case, or they may be able to find you somebody that would be willing to talk to you about assuming the case on a contingency fee basis. Typically the volunteer lawyer program, if it is what we call a fee generating case, which means somebody that would take it on a contingency fee basis and would make a fee, most of the time the volunteer lawyer program will let lawyers who do that, handle those types of cases, as opposed to appointing a private lawyer to handle your case.
Does she need like a civil rights lawyer, maybe?
Somebody that does ADA work, civil rights discrimination work.
Okay. Talk a little bit about other kinds of cases, like cases with DHR involved. How do lawyers handling those kind of cases get paid?
That's difficult. It really is. It's you've got if if you have a custody situation, and that's something that you deal with, or child support situation. DHR will come in and pursue the claim for you, right?
So DHR can help you collect child support. They will foot the bill for helping collect that. They may not be as slow as a privately paid lawyer, but they are great value for that. And if you had a case like a juvenile court case where DHR had to come in and take children away, maybe put them in foster care, the state pays for lawyers for each of the parents, for the child to have a lawyer helping, sometimes for grandparents as well. The state also pays for rehab, for parenting classes, for domestic relations classes, any kind of services that you need to get your family back together and try and preserve the family. Can be a big expense to the state, but they cover all those bases. They're telling us to take a break. Let's take a break. We'll be right back answering more of your questions about what to do if you can't afford a lawyer. Stay with us. If you didn't get questions answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with the Madison County Volunteer Lawyers Program out of Huntsville, 256-539-2275. Also check out VLPMadisonCounty.com. Here's how to get in touch with Michael Timberlake and William Meservey with Timberlake and League in Huntsville, 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com. And if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And our friend Sharon does family law. She does a great job with these cases. 256-539-7337 or SharonFamilyLaw.com.
William, there's another service that we forgot to mention too.
Yeah, so there's also Legal Services of Alabama, which provide, some other services of landlord-tenant cases and some other type actions that the volunteer lawyers don't cover. But the volunteer lawyers are available as well through a series of community clinics, and you can learn more about that on their website that was just up. And that includes a family law clinic, library clinic, veterans clinic, disabled veterans clinic, and I know I'm missing one, but there's plenty of clinics that you can come and get more information as well through our website, and hope to see you there.
Thanks for all your questions tonight. Good night, everybody.